Hi there, welcome to episode 4 of Forever in Love. Today in this episode, we're focusing on romance and emotional intimacy. And this is very important. The last video, the third one, was on conflict management. At the end of this video, we will encourage you to kind of use the link that's going to pop up to watch that video because it's like a foundation for what we're talking about today. It's on conflict management. Today, again, let's come back to the topic, the big topic, which is romance and emotional intimacy. And in fact, also, we're going to be talking about physical intimacy as well. So the focus in this video is how we can keep love alive in our marriages. And particularly because we are busy couples these days, in the modern couples, we can be really, really busy. And romance can fade away. Shiri, why does romance fade away?
Yeah, romance fade away when we don't pay so much attention to it. It actually fades gradually over time. It doesn't happen all of a sudden. It comes unnoticed. And reasons why romance fades include number one, familiarity. A saying goes like this, that familiarity breeds contempt. When you become over familiar with your partner, with your spouse, nothing is new anymore. You've seen them finish, then romance fades.
Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah.
See
Finish. Yeah, that's it.
So that element of see finish is real.
Yeah, it's real. Also, responsibility. We've got so many responsibilities. Could be children, aged parents, family, friends. Responsibility even at work, in the church. Responsibilities here and there. At home, house chores and things like that can cause romance to fade in a relationship. Also, couples become task focused. Cooking, house chores. It could also be work related. You even bring work home rather than having family time together, couples time together. You continue work at home and things like that. When couples are task focused, then romance will fade.
So, for instance, you have the task of taking the kids to school. The other person has to get them ready for school. The person needs to bring them from school. The other person needs to go shopping. So you just focus on all of those tasks.
Yeah, get them done.
At the expense of your relationship, your intimacy.
Yeah. Also, when there is lack of intentional connection, it actually we need to be intentional to keep romance going in a relationship. All right. It's good to be intentional about it. Otherwise, it will fade.
Yeah. So some people believe that it's romance should be effortless. Just feel attracted to each other. If you really love each other, it's not usually so. It's normally so when you've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's the myth of what we call effortless romance. The truth is that early romance feels natural. Okay, because you just know each other, you really like each other, you love to hear each other's voices, see each other, and so on. When, like my wife mentioned that common expression, see finish, when you've really known each other, you become like ordinary with each other. It needs to be then intentional. So long-term love requires effort. That is the truth. That is the fact. And those of you who are experienced know what we're talking about. So some people are unfortunately, some people are actually, naturally not romantic. So if you're married to a spouse who's not romantic, possibly because of their background, they grew up in a family where affection is not naturally expressed, for example. So you may need to be intentional to make sure that there's romance in your own marriage. So that intentionality really matters. And emotional connection must be built. Something you have to build when you are busy couples, like most couples today. So that it is the intentional actions that restore, the feeling that you have for each other. And we're going to talk more about, give you some hints that can be helpful very shortly. So do you have any hint with regards to that, Shiri?
Yeah, micro connections. It involves those little things that you do that brings connection. All right, small daily moments together. That's one of the micro connections. You create moments and for each other daily. It can be just 10-15 minutes together. For instance, you want to do something in the kitchen, both of you are there gisting, doing the work and things like that. You could also, playing games together, 10-30 minutes, play games together. Yeah. So you can also take a stroll, walk, 10-15 minutes, walk together, gist, laugh, come back. Those little time together matters a lot. That's what we call the micro connections. Also, sending messages to each other. Maybe you're at work, both of you are at work. Hi there, hope you're fine. How's work going? And things like that. Also, you're at home touching each other, and things like that. Also builds connection. Eye contact as well. Okay, eye contact. You are present with them.
You're not looking at your phone.
You're not. Yeah, these days people are busy with their phone together, even till late in the night, rather than talking with your partner, gisting, how did your day go and things like that. People are busy on phone. So we need to be deliberate about these things. All right. Because consistency builds closeness. Also, you need to be consistent. And that's where the closeness comes.
Yeah. So emotional intimacy fuels physical intimacy. So it's not true that you can just be physically intimate. Some people want to jump to the physical intimacy aspect or kind of the physical affection aspect of things very quickly, especially men, and they realize suddenly that it's not doesn't work that way. You need to be gradual about it. The emotional intimacy really matters, and it makes the physical intimacy easier. So emotional closeness drives physical connection. That's a fact, okay? And feeling valued really matters. If your spouse doesn't feel valued, that decreases desire. When someone feels really valued, it increases desire for intimacy. And disconnection affects intimacy definitely because whether due to the devices or your children or your work, you're disconnected. It will be hard for you to be intimate with each other. And words really matter. Words matter, particularly to ladies. And I have to be sincere. Women want to be told, like, you are beautiful, you are this. And we are going to go into the Bible to give examples. King Solomon in Song of Solomon in chapter 4, verse 7, he said to that lady, we know that the King Solomon must have been a very romantic person. As those of you know the story of King Solomon with 1,000 women. So he said, "You're altogether beautiful, my darling." He said, "There is no flaw in you." That's really like sound like flattery, but I believe this is one of the reasons he was able to get yes, yes, yes from so many women. So you can borrow a clue from that. You can borrow a leaf from King Solomon. He also said something. He says something in verse 4, the same chapter 4, something like your neck is like the Tower of David. Describing. So things like that really matter. Say it's words matter, particularly to ladies, and we men also value. We like to be, to be praised.
Yeah, everybody loves to be praised, actually. So, in that light, there's need for us to, schedule romance. It's very important to schedule romance. At least that is a time that is tech-free, device-free, where you create connection. Put your phones and gadgets away, connect with each other. It could be in form of a date night, having time together. It could also be in form of holiday, couple holiday. You go on a holiday and discuss, reminiscence on your journey so far, your marriage journey, so far, and things like that. Tell each other lovely things. Like my husband mentioned that women like hearing lovely things like that. I think men also do. They also do.
We want it.
All right, now they are confessing.
We want it. And that reminds me of what Solomon said when we're talking about holiday. Also in Song chapter 2, from verse 10 to verse 11, King Solomon says something that's related to the issue of holiday. I think maybe I think it's to do with holiday. He said, "Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away. For now the winter is past. The rain is over and gone." This is at this time. This is April, so we are in spring, going towards summer. Have you booked your holidays? Your couple of days, you and your spouse. So yeah, we have arranged something. We have a date already. So 2 days, 3 days away. Maybe you have someone to look after the kids. Just you and your spouse alone, both of you only. It will be very helpful. That's like one of the ways you can schedule romance.
Yeah. So because planning protects priorities. When you plan it out, it's on your calendar marked out, then that means that's your priority and you definitely work towards it. So it's very important to schedule romance. Also, consistency matters. Don't just do it a one-off time. Be consistent. Do it regularly. Let it form parts of your life, of your
schedules,
your routine. Yeah.
Maybe every summer, book somewhere, go on a cruise, on ship cruise, whatever. Spend time together, go to the beach, go and see some landmarks, some beautiful places. If you have money, travel out of the country, go to another country, Spain or whatever. As long as the children are looked after, no problem at all. So, but there are some barriers to romance, and so we're going to mention a few barriers that you can add to the list and put it in the comments. One common barrier to romance is stress and fatigue. In fact, sometimes burnout. Because when you're stressed, you're tired, you're irritable, you even treat humans like objects when you're burnt out. You can't be affectionate when you are stressed. So you need to kind of manage your stress level, all those extra shifts, extra job, or double, all those things. Hustles. Side hustles, Limit them if you want your relationship to be really, really romantic and affectionate. Because when someone is coming home, the other person is going to work. This person is coming home, the other person is going. When are you going to have time together? So try and be intentional about when you think you need to be trying to make sure that you're together, maybe some weekends or some days of the week. Unresolved conflict is another one. And that's why the last video is important. If you've not resolved the conflict, you're not happy with each other, you can't be romantic. That's the last thing that will happen, or intimate with each other, or feeling unappreciated, like mentioned earlier, feeling valued, increases desire. So maybe you've had things like you don't even appreciate what I'm doing, it's only what I'm not doing or what I'm not able to do, you always mention. That's not going to be to help your relationship. A lack of emotional safety is another one. And that's when people say things like, well, I'm just going to keep quiet because once I speak now, you're going to take it to another level, or you may misinterpret what I'm saying. That means there's no emotional safety. People should be able to express their minds. Your spouse should be able to tell you, this is how I feel about what you did, this is how I feel about what is going on, and they're not worried about you, misinterpreting it and becoming and making it overblowing and making it to become a big issue.
Yeah. So how do we rekindle romance? We've seen barriers to romance. So how do we rekindle romance in a relationship? Number one is daily appreciation. We all love to be appreciated, isn't it? So daily appreciation. Little things matters a lot, really. Appreciate yourself. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. This meal is nice. Thank you for preparing it, and things like that.
Appreciate each other.
Yeah.
Regular. It can be like even by a text message.
Yeah.
Thank for the delicious whatever you cooked this morning. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's very helpful.
Yeah. Also, you share memories together as well. Reminiscence, about things that happened before. Laugh over matters, can bring old album, look at your journey so far and look at the growth as well. Smile, laugh. It could also be your wedding video and things like that. Just, share memories together, laugh together. Also, you can also learn new experience together. For instance, like learning new skills, something you both enjoy, learn it and practice it together. It could be as simple as cooking. Maybe learn a new recipe and cook it together. Those are moments together, and those moments are usually, I would say, sacred. They are very important. They help to rekindle romance.
So thank you for mentioning that. Things like, so the emphasis will be more of intentional affection.
Yeah.
Be intentionally affectionate. Don't assume he knows I love him, she knows I love her. Be intentionally affectionate and affectionate to express affection. And for instance, you can just send a text message. Like women like to be praised, like I said earlier, and Solomon did something like that. My beloved is mine and I'm his. I don't know who told Solomon that. It's in his book in Song of Solomon chapter 2 verse 16. Yeah. So you can imagine if your husband reads that, wow, in the way we say it in our language, his head is going to kind of rise, or kind of swell. So he's going to feel like, wow, my love really appreciates what I'm doing. The challenge for this episode, as you know, at the end of every video, we release a challenge for the episode challenge. So the episode challenge for episode 4 is this: schedule connection time. Whether it's half an hour, or to any length or any extent you want to take it, that's left to you, really. Just schedule a time and remove all distractions. Maybe kids have gone to bed, the children have gone to sleep. No technology, no TV or phone or anything. So remove any distraction completely and ask each other meaningful questions. For instance, something like, what will make you feel more loved, or whatever. Just ask each other questions and answer sincerely and honestly. And then end that session with affection. It could be emotional, it could be physical affection. Just end that session with affection and appreciate each other for what you've been doing for each other in your marriage. It's totally okay. And if you're not married, of course, the extent to which you can go is limited. But spend that time to appreciate each other for what they've contributed to your life. Your partner has contributed to your life so far, and appreciate each other and look forward to a closer intimacy in the future.
So, what are the key takeaways in this episode? We'll summarize it into 4. The first is romance requires intention.
Mm-hmm. And small moments matter.
Yeah. Emotional intimacy sustains love.
Yeah. And consistency builds connection. Yeah. Thanks so much. And join us in our next video. The next video is going to be on the power of appreciation. And that is very important. It's going to build on what some of the aspects of today's video. If you want to receive a notification as soon as we drop that video, the only thing you need to do is subscribe. Just click that subscribe icon there and be one of the first to be notified that the next video is ready. We also want to encourage you to share this video. If you found it helpful, share it with other couples, share it with your friends, and I'm sure they will thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next episode.
Same here. Thanks so much. See you in the next video.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.